Welcome, guys. We've had the qualifying session for the Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix, and what a session we have got. The race is set up brilliantly for tomorrow. Let's get to it. Jump straight into Q1, and well, the usual suspects this time around. And one thing to note actually was the gap from the P1 to P22 was huge. Something that we've seen throughout all the free practice sessions so far this weekend, and it was really exposing who's got a good car and who's got a shocker, and no surprise who is last. Well, sort of actually, no surprise in who's the last car. It's the Aston Martins. But Lance Stroll has done it. He's finally out-qualified Fernando Alonso, who will start last at his home Grand Prix. Lance Stroll breaks the record of being out-qualified by his teammate 42 times. And he's done it. He's finally made it happen. Lance Stroll will line up 21st. So nothing to write home about. Then came the two Cadillacs, Valtteri Bottas, followed by Sergio Perez. Bottas will be disappointed with that one because it looked like he could out-qualify Sergio Perez this weekend, who's generally had the better of him so far this season. But Bottas looked much closer and faster than Perez throughout much of the practice sessions. Just couldn't quite get it together in qualifying. Then comes the disappointed Alex Albon, and apparently it was just horrendous understeer in his car that he just couldn't seem to get on top of. A big, fat, heavy car around this circuit gets really exposed. Williams have tipped this down to be a really difficult weekend for them, and so it's proven, especially on the side of Alex Albon. Esteban Ocon continues a disappointing campaign in qualifying. He's been comfortably out-qualified by his teammate. Again, he was a couple of places behind him in Q1 and out P17 in that session. And then jumping straight to Q2, it didn't get much better, like I said, for the Williams. Carlos Sainz, P16 and last his home Grand Prix. So the Williams clearly off the pace. The Haas of Ollie Berman next up. They are two teams that just seem bit disconnected from the cars ahead of them at the moment, don't they? They're slowly falling into the sort of tier 3 category of Formula One with the Cadillac and the Aston Martins. Yeah, he was really disappointed with his lap, but that's just kind of where the Haas is at the moment. And then will be the most disappointed, actually, is the Alpines. Both Pierre Gasly in P14, Franco Colapinto out-qualifies him, so it's good to see him back up there, P13 for him. Good session for Franco to out-qualify Pierre Gasly, so I'll be very, very happy with that. But he's doing what he needs to do, isn't he, Pierre Gasly, on that one? Sorry, Franco Colapinto, but Pierre Gasly, yeah, I mean, high of being given back that podium, it's been, yeah, disappointing that they're no longer the top, best of the rest, top 5th team, are they really, behind the big four? They've dropped behind the Audi, so work to do for Alpine, especially to be out-qualified by both Racing Bulls and Audi. I think they'll be disappointed with that one. Gabi Bortoleto, 13th place, not the best session for him. He was out-qualified by his teammate. We've not seen that too often, and Gabi will be disappointed with Lindblad and Arvid Lindblad in 11th place. Again, didn't quite get the best run and the best lap towards the end of the session. He'll be disappointed. He's been out-qualified by his teammate and he's generally been closer to him. And at one point, it did look like both Racing Bulls could make it through into Q3, but it wasn't to be. Nico Hülkenberg knocking him out and getting himself up into the P10 place and that final position to fight out for Q3. And we'll jump straight to Q3, and the man on pole position with a quite brilliant lap, George Russell. Mr. Saturday, is he back? He's been quick all weekend and he's really made the most of every session, fastest, and he was 3/10 faster than Kimi Antonelli in third place. But George has done absolutely what he needs to be. He was very, very happy. He was saying, straight on the boot, back in the groove. He felt he was more at one with this car, but he had to pull out a hell of a lap. It was the final sector, really, that clenched the pole position for him, because we got a surprise in some sense in that session, because it was Lewis Hamilton in P2, and what a middle sector he pulled off, a 30 flat. He was absolutely incredible, was Lewis Hamilton. Fantastic to see him like that. Back in the groove. He's P2 in the championship. He's P2 lining up in the race tomorrow. He'll be racy. He'll give it everything he's got. There's no two ways about that one. But for all this world, it looked like he'd be behind Charles Leclerc, but it was his teammate that actually binned it right at the start of Q3, and a real shame, because looking at how close Lewis was to the two Mercedes boys, Charles Leclerc has generally been the faster of the two Ferraris, and we've just not got to see him take that lap. So I think Charles will probably line up 10th, but Lewis with a brilliant lap, front row start. Let's see if he can make it into P1 down into the first corner. It's a shame, because they've lost that whole advantage now, where they kind of give in to the FIA and didn't really fight too hard to hold on to this whole start gimmick that that they mastered and actually prioritized, and it's now everybody's sort of caught up a little bit and got on top of that. So it's going to be tough to see him be just flying into P1. If it was the first couple of races, it was almost a guarantee, especially if it was going to line up second. But I'm sure he'd give it a good fight. Kimi Antonelli, P3. He just wasn't quite happy with the car. And interestingly enough, it's Lewis and Kimi that both missed the free practice sessions, and both sort of saying, I think that cost him. Lewis was the first to jump on that point, wasn't he? Saying missing FP1 made a huge difference this weekend. Generally, it's not too bad, but here it absolutely has. And I think that clearly hasn't Kimi Antonelli put him on the back foot. Is that purely what the 3/10 is down to? Possibly not, but missing a whole practice session with these cars and the way that they ramp up through the weekend, with Lewis saying the same thing, it does really put you on the back foot. And I don't think the full gap will be that, but I think Kimi should and would have been potentially closer to George Russell. Long race tomorrow. He'll be hoping at worst he lines and finishes second behind George, but I think it'll be a long race tomorrow. Fourth place man, Lando Norris, and well, he was only 3 thousandths behind Kimi Antonelli in the end, so it's harsh to be very critical of the McLaren guys, but they looked like they'd be right up there with the two Mercedes boys. They were fastest and right, close to the Mercedes throughout the practice sessions. Nothing to pick between the two. But when it came to qualifying, they were comfortably edged out by George Russell and beaten by a Ferrari as well. Max Verstappen lines up in fifth place, 20 thousandths behind George Russell. So mega close between third, fourth, and fifth place. Less than a tenth between third and sixth place, or even seventh. There was nothing really, like 0.319 to a 0.411. So basically, less than a tenth between third and seventh place, Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen, really quick in the middle, first sector. He will be a threat down the back straight, especially with that huge rear wing. Higher downforces here, so that will help more than we've seen in previous races. Whether it's enough for him to jump up a couple of places, he'll be racy and feisty. The problem is I don't think that Red Bull is very quick in race conditions, so we'll see what he can do from there. Isaac Hadjar, a good qualifying session from him, really close to Max Verstappen, less than half a tenth behind, so much better from him, there or thereabouts, and it's just small margins, isn't it, that seems to jump you good amount of places. 7th place man Oscar Piastri. He's not really been on the pace of Lando Norris. And wasn't again then. Less, like I say, there's only a 10th in it. Small mistakes, so hard to be massively critical. And then comes 8th place, Liam Lawson. And this is a huge gap that we're seeing, 1.8 seconds back of the top 4 or the top 7. Obviously, we didn't see Charles Leclerc in that. So, yeah, different league for the Racing Bulls, but a very, very good job from Liam Lawson to be best of the rest. Nico Hulkenberg in 9th place with a 1.9 second gap to the front. Not much between the two, about a 10th between the Audi and the Racing Bulls. That we're just hoping to hold on for points tomorrow. And we've got Charles Leclerc in 10th for now. But will we see a pit lane start? Because there was quite a big crash for him in Q3. And that might mean that we see a pit lane start, potentially a chassis change. But we'll wait and see on that. Hopefully, the rear end didn't look too damaged, so there might not be any issues with the gearbox. That's normally the threat that we see on that, and he can line up in 10th place, but it's going to be a difficult race for him. At best, you see him passing maybe 2-3 cars at best, but with safety cars, tyre deg seems really, really high. So it'll be an interesting race to see how that pans out from there on out. But there we have it, set to be a fantastic Grand Prix tomorrow with George and Lewis alongside each other. Kimi sniffing right behind. Max Verstappen will be in there with a shout. You can never count him out. And it's so close between the top 7 or 8. And such a shame for Charles Leclerc to crash out again, back-to-back crashes in qualifying sessions, and something that he really needs to get on top of. New Ferrari contract, and it's not really happened for him. Join me for the watch along for the race tomorrow. There we have it. That is qualifying. It was brilliant. Make sure you jump on some highlights on that one. It was brilliant laps from George and Lewis. Should be a cracking race tomorrow. Join me. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.